Welcome to Toy Business Unbox, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unbox. Today, we are thrilled to have Neil, a visionary board game designer and the founder of NRP Games, as our guest. He has various different backgrounds as a script editor in films and theater, and now he is spending a lot of time in the board game industry. And he also have his journey from storytelling to game design, and his approach to self-publishing is also very different, and how he's also using tournament to really engage with the players and grow his communities. And I think today's interview is going to be a very interesting one to share some of his experience and how he got to the place that he is right now. So thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast today, Neil.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so can you first just start out sharing with our audience on like your background story, like how do you get started and how do you got into the board game industry?
Yes, I've been always developing games since I was very small, and then most of the time just copying stuff. And then at one stage, from copying at a very young age, it became developing my own. But then they were always very complex games. I really like strategy games. And then I think in 2010, I was in the Dolomites in the Italian mountains with my girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she caught me cutting out cardboards, a wine box, small hexagon tiles from a cardboard wine box. She said, "Oh, are you making a game again?" And I said, "Yes." Yeah. And then she said, "Please make something simple, something I like too and doesn't take too long."
Okay.
And actually that for me was a golden tip, because I always made these very strategic games which I could play with 2 or 3 friends. And that would last for hours. But then trying to really make it simple, all of a sudden I made something which was attracted a larger audience. Mm-hmm. And it was actually still strategic because I like strategy games, but also a lot of fun. So it was a good tip. And that was the game Refugio, the first one I made. And then I didn't think of publishing it myself. I first went to a lot of big publishing companies. They were all very interested to publish it, but they had their own reasons not to do it, doing something similar themselves already. So in the end, I thought, why not make it myself?
Okay. And can you also quickly explain how the game mechanic and the rule work? And if you have the actual physical copy of the game, please feel free to share.
Behind me, there's Refugio and Ice Hike. Refugio is the first one, Ice Hike the latest one. And there's also, maybe, I don't know if you can see it, Menhir dans le brouillard. A tip for everyone, if you're publishing in the Netherlands, don't go for a French title, because otherwise it's not that good. For me, it was like Brittany, the northwestern part of France, where I made the second game.
Okay.
But short titles or English titles, they'll always work. Refugio is a work, though. It's Italian for mountain hut or a shelter in the mountains. And a lot of people that have been there, they know the name and they are interested in the game. Okay. And in a few sentences, you do 3 things. You build the boards during the game by placing hexagon tiles. Mm-hmm. The fun thing is the board will be different every time you play. In this ever-growing landscape, everyone has his own wooden meeple with a backpack. Imagine that you in the mountains, and you score points for all the lovely things you visit. Flowers, animals, mountain tops, waterfalls, etc. But not for the bears. The bears are minus points. And finally, of course, you can build Refugio, a mountain hut. And if other people pass your hut, you also score points. And the one with the most points at the end wins.
I see.
Yeah.
How long does a typical gameplay last?
With 2 players, it takes about 20 minutes. So I like that a lot because it's really quick. With 3, 4, or 5, it takes about an hour to play.
Oh,
and there's also an extension set already included in the box, Rivers and Rafts, it's called. And then it takes about 5 minutes extra if you play with 2, or 15 if you play with more.
I see. Yeah. Is the game also currently available for purchase in US as well, or is it only in European Union?
I'm afraid only in European Union, and then almost only in the Netherlands. There is a distributor in Belgium, a web shop in Germany, and one in Denmark. But that's currently it. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So I also want to talk about what you mentioned a little bit already, because that's a common struggle or the common difficult decision a lot of the game designers need to make is going self-publishing or try to license your book to a bigger publisher.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about that decision that you make? And
sure thing. Yeah. Because like I said, I thought I'd go to a big publishing company. Well, the Netherlands, there's Jumbo, that's been there for years, and there's 99 Games. These are the biggest two. And so I looked on the website of 99 Games, and then it said, if you got an ID, don't come to us. Only,
really?
Yeah, if you really want to. We've got a stand at one of the fairs in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And if you're very early, your name can be put on a list, and you can show us your ID. And then I did, and halfway during the day, it was my time. And before me, there was someone with a lovely artwork in line. And then he got really terrible feedback. So I saw him like droopy going off somewhere. And then I thought, and now I got to present my stuff with just the doodling on the hexagons. But they really liked it. And so they tested it. And then they gave me some feedback in the end. And the end game wasn't good at the time. And they were right, actually, because it wasn't. But then I also understood that they're a company who really buy a lot of licenses from German publishers. So the German successes, they're brought to the Netherlands by 99 Games.
Okay.
And so I thought, why not go to Germany? One of the biggest board game countries in the world, if not the biggest one. So I went to Cosmos from Settlers, right? And to Hans im Glück from Carcassonne, the game. And both of them were interested, but Cosmos said, now we're making something similar ourselves. And that's always scary at first, because you've got your ID, you're very vulnerable. But I managed to, in the Netherlands, have my ID registered, and as well as in Germany.
Yeah.
And Hans im Glück, they tested it a lot, and they liked it a lot. But they were then at that time, this is 2011, mind you, still planning to release a lot of extension sets from Carcassonne expansions.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be too much in their market, so they also said, veel geluk, bon chance. And and in the end, I thought, so what does it cost to release this myself?
Yeah.
And with little knowledge, I just went on to do, which looking back was pretty amateuristic, I'd say. A friend of mine said, you can buy almost everything on Alibaba.com or on a website like that, from things, nail polish.
Yeah.
And so I chatted a lot with a Chinese woman, and then I sent her a lot of money, and then I hoped for something to come back to Europe, but it did. It was very good, actually. I was really happy with that. So the first time I had 1,000 copies made in China, and then after 3 times managing to sell those, then I, since 2017, had the guts to start making everything in the Netherlands itself. Because then I knew I could order like 2,000 or 2,500 copies at once of this game. Of course, for a big company, these numbers are maybe not that big, but for me, just an individual producing on my own, 2,500 copies is quite
What is the
substantial.
major reason that you decide to make it in Netherlands instead of China? I saw it's going to be cheaper to make it in China.
Yeah, it might be cheaper, but of course, we're also in an age where we need to think of the environment more and more, right? It saves, of course, since my market is mainly in the Netherlands, it makes sense to all produce it here. And if I produce 2,500 copies, then the price per game is almost similar to what it's produced in China.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of the shipping. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Okay. And I also want to transition to today's interview to talk about the tournament that you have, because I have interviewed a lot of people in the board game space. Not a lot of people do tournament because it takes so much time and work. So can you first talk about what inspired you to organize tournament for your game? When did it started and how did it even started?
Yeah, first, so I had these like 1,000 copies of my game made in China in 2013, January, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, so how now am I going to sell the lot? And then I thought, why not organize tournaments? It doesn't help to sell. If that's your idea, it will help you sell, at least not directly. It does help you to create like a community and to, of course, have a lot of nice pictures for the socials of people playing your game. And you get a lot of good feedback. You see how people react to the game, how they play it. So it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. So that helps. I think I organized now 100 tournaments in the last year. Quite substantial.
That's a lot.
But mainly amongst students.
Okay.
Because they've got a lot of time. They're eager to learn. I like strategic games, so it's also a good test audience. Do they engage with it? Do they? Yeah. Sorry, what was your question again?
So, how many years ago did you start it? And that was
this is in 2014, I think, that I started with the first tournament. Yeah, because in the first year, in 2013, I thought, I sold like 200 copies to friends and family. I thought, now the ball will roll and I'll sell more and more. Of course, it did not. It stopped as soon. If you don't do anything, you don't do any marketing, you won't sell a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I sold another 60 copies in the year of 2013, but that was it. So then I thought, no, I should start with the tournaments. And at that time, I had a friend of mine designing a T-shirt and a nice slogan. So we had something like the idea in the beginning was, could they beat me at my own game? And then when they won, they got a T-shirt saying, "I put the master back in his refugio." Back into his house. Yeah.
I like that one. Okay.
Yeah. So that was fun. Actually, it got embarrassing in one stage because I've been doing that for a lot of time. I think in 2014 and 15. And then we had this group of at least 20 people who were very fanatic who tried to beat me, which sometimes worked, sometimes not. And it was always great fun. But then I got invited for a bigger stage. It was a fair in the Netherlands, in Gouda.
Oh, okay.
And they said, could you organize a national championship of your game? I said, yes, I'd love to. Probably there was like 6 people from Gouda, but also 20 plus people from Amsterdam in Gouda for the tournament.
Oh, wow.
For the first national championship. But I participated myself because with all these people, they'd love to beat me. But, embarrassing. I won in the end. Which which was, of course, very embarrassing looking back at the moment also. For the 20 people from Amsterdam, they were used to it. it was fun for them. But the other people everywhere, there was like 100 people, over 100 people on the fair, and they all thought, so this guy organizes his own tournament and wins it? What? It was really embarrassing. I'd recommend not to do that anymore. But it does describe you, give you an idea of how much I was involved and really loved the tournaments. I think you gotta love it to make such an effort to organize all those. But I was, this was 2015, so now it's 10 years ago. But it was, I don't know the English words, but I didn't learn really quickly, because in the year after but then I became second in my own championship. And then, so there was a big cheers all around for the one who beat me. Yeah. And then afterwards, I did participate 3 times. Yeah, it's embarrassing to say. But then I was 4th. And in the end, I thought, so this is enough. Now, for the last, 8 years, I've been giving it away and then seeing how people play without, of course, me participating.
So how does the rule of this kind of tournament work? Is it like a round of elimination or? Yeah,
it had different phases. First, because first I started out playing like 3, 4, 5 people on one table. But then as people got better and better, it more and more became a 1-against-1 kind of game.
Oh, really?
Then, of course, if we play the 3 of us and number 3 made a mistake, it's your turn, and then it's someone else's turn who made a mistake, and then it's my advantage because someone just made a mistake, right? So that didn't feel right. So now it's only 1-against-1. If you make a mistake, it's my benefit, and vice versa.
I see. Okay.
And also what helps is that with 2 players, it's only like 20 minutes. So that
it's shorter.
It's also nice. So now the idea is that everyone has the chance to play 2 games. Mm-hmm. So that will take maximum half an hour per game, but an hour max. Most of the time, it can be played in like 13 minutes, but let's say 20 at average. And then the best 8 of the tournament, they go to the finals.
Okay.
And how to decide who are the best 8? First, we look at who's won.
Yeah.
Well, imagine there's 4 people that won 2 times. They're through anyways. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that only won once. But then you can make a distinction between the people who won once. And then we look at the goal score, which is the amount of points they scored more than their opponents in the 2 games they had.
Okay.
And that makes a ranking of 8 or from all the participants, of course, but the top 8 then plays the finals. And in the finals, there's number 1 will be paired with number 8. 2 with 7. 3
it's like a playoff,
6, 4 and 5. Yeah. And then it's a certain death. If they lose, they're out.
I see. And what is the prize for the winner at the end?
In the beginning, it was T-shirts, but now, and sometimes it was drinks at the bar. But nowadays, sort of the national championship, it will be hosted this year for the 10th time, is a very nice silver puppet made by a goldsmith in the Netherlands. It's a massive silver engraved with Refugio, national champion of the Netherlands.
Really?
And then the year, of course. So
is it a medal? Is it like a medal people can wear?
No, it's because in the game you have these meatballs, right? Which is normally a wooden puppet with a backpack in your own color. But now you got the silver one, which is pretty nice.
Oh, like a special limited edition.
Yeah. There's only 10 of them so far. Or 9, actually, 9. So the 10th. And actually, I'm thinking of redoing it this year again, or a bit of a change this year, because it will be the 10th time. And there's one guy who now won 3 times the national championship. He's really good. And there's also a ranking, the eternal ranking. He passed me on that quite some time ago. So that's it hurts a bit.
He's also the same guy that beat you before? Is that the same guy? Is that the same person that beat you in the tournament before?
No, Oh, there was someone else then. Yeah.
Different.
No, he came a bit later to the party, but he's really really good. And yeah, we had a great. Well, let's finish my first story. So now he's won this puppet 3 times, but he can only play with one at a time, right? So it doesn't make much sense to have so many puppets. But in the game, you have a lot of refugi mountain huts. So from this year on, I think of the prize being a silver mountain hut instead of a puppet. Which makes more sense because it's a refugio anyways, for the game refugio, it makes a lot. And then you can save, or if you win 5 times, then you have your complete set. So it will be great, of course.
Oh, okay.
But so far, so they could win a silver set for the winner, an orange set to play with for the runner-up, and a purple set for number 3. And these are all colors that are not in the original game. So it's really nice to have your own color to play with, I'd say. Yeah.
I see.
And then there's this ranking of each year and the eternal ranking where you can find yourself somewhere in the list. Yeah.
I see. Do you also see tournament as like a really good marketing tool for your games, so people is more aware of it and actually more sales?
Yeah, I'm doubtful. I don't know for sure because at the tournament itself, I never sell many games or I don't sell that many games. However, having said that, that's at the student tournaments I organize because students have a lot of time and not that much money, right? But at the fairs, I now do organize also a lot of tournaments at fairs, and there it does help sales because then people you're really visible, right? At the fair, game fair, and then people say, "Oh, it's." And if they've participated, or even if they've not participated, you see a lot of people playing it, and then that does help sales.
Does help, okay. Okay.
Depends also a bit on the fair because we've got 2 big ones in the Netherlands. One is called Spellenspectakel. It's the biggest one, and that one, I think it has like at least 10,000 visitors a day. Which compared to Essen in Germany, like 50,000 a day, of course, is still nowhere. But anyway, it's a big one. Their sales is definitely good in the Netherlands, but I do have this tournament there. But even if the tournament wasn't there, I'd still be selling a lot, I think. But in the other one, it's called Zuiderspel. It's more in the south of the Netherlands. Netherlands, of course, being very small, but still we've got a south. And there, the tournament is really, I think, people do really come to play games there. And if you don't have a tournament, then you don't sell that much. So there, it does work, I think.
I see. Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you have faced in organizing tournament like this, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, the first one, of course, is getting the people there. So location is important. You want to be somewhere where there's already a lot of people, actually. So don't go organizing your tournament very miles off center, I'd say. I have the advantage that I work still part-time in a theater where there's also a lot of students working. So then I've got really direct contact with a lot of them. And I just, each month I have a regular day in the month from September to April.
Yeah.
Then in the Netherlands, we have this saying, when there's the R in the month, so September, December, then usually you got extra medicine because of the lack of the sunshine in the Netherlands in those months. Yeah. But now I made this joke, like in the R in the month, then it's time for refugio. That was the start. And it was also in a cafe called The Richel. So there was a lot of R's in it. So that made and then the third Thursday of the month, then we'd have a game night. So if you have a set date, then people know it's going to be there and then, and it gets in their system at some point.
Okay.
And of course, if there's a ranking and they've won once, they want to defend their position. And if there's a nice prize, that helps. But that's, and then finding a location, of course, is one. But so far, that's not been so much of a problem for me, luckily.
Okay. So for some of our listeners, of course, thank you so much for sharing your experience running tournaments like this. But what are some of the unique tip that you would like to share with someone that have never done a tournament before? What are some of the other things that they should also think about if they want to consider to host their own tournament for their own games as well?
Yeah. For me, it's also with all these things, but it's also making board games. You're trying to envision every scenario possible and then think of a solution beforehand. Because the most disappointing thing at the tournament is, so what happens when it's a tie? And so now everyone's been living up to this moment, and now there's a tie. Is it now going to be disappointment all everywhere, or do you have a solution for that?
Okay.
And luckily, there's in Refugio, there's one in the rules already. Then the one with the most points, specific the Refugio points wins. Yeah. But that could also be a tie. Then in the tournament, we're looking back at their scores of the previous games.
Oh, okay.
So that these kind of things you want to, and what if someone really takes a long time? If people are sometimes people take a long time for what do you do then? Yeah. You have an hourglass, right? So I have them, not so much to use them, but just the physical presence of them makes people think, oh yeah, I need to go
faster. Okay.
So that helps a lot. And of course, you got to think of if people really didn't finish their turn in like a minute, then some things happen. Yeah.
Okay.
So set the rules really clear for everyone. This is a tile placing game. Refugio, same with Ice Hike, by the way. And the idea is it's 60 tiles, which is perfectly divided between 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 players if you like. So the idea is everyone has the same amount of turns. And sometimes people forget in their anxiety or whatever to place a tile. So what happens then, right? If they forget to, then do we leave it at the end? Most of the time, like 3 or 4 turns before the end, you can see if a mistake has been made or if, so then probably best to then decide what happens and not leave it till the last turn, because then people will get upset. Yeah.
I see.
When they're really into it and the game's on,
Yeah, I see. And how, like, out of your tournament, are they majority returning player, or is it also a lot of new player at each of the tournament?
Yeah, with Refugio, I've been doing that for, let me think. I think I did 4 years or a bit longer. No, maybe 6 years. Yeah. And then there was a really tight group. There was a lot of friends of mine as well. And then with everyone brought someone. But now, because with each new game I make, and I organize all these tournaments myself, I'm there myself. So I don't have the time with 3 games to do as much of each game. So now Refugio only has been reduced to 1 national championship a year on the biggest fair we've got. The second game, Menhir dans le brouillard, the one with the French title, which actually means big stones in the fog. That's okay. That's my one-off kind of game, because I try to make games for a broad audience, so easy to learn but challenging. But the Menhir, the big stones one, went a bit more into a chess kind of area. So that's more kind of a niche game. So I've been doing a lot of tournaments for that one, but that's the one that was the hardest to find people for, because it's more niche. Probably I should have looked on other sources or other places for people, but it's also, I like the game. I think it's a good game. I'm happy. I won a prize with it, but I have not found an audience, a continuing audience for it yet.
I see.
Maybe in the future I'll put more energy into that. But now I've been promoting Ice Hike, my latest game.
Okay.
Which is more like Refugio, which is more for a broader audience. So the September till April months are now given to Ice Hike. Yeah.
I see. So each tournament, usually how many player that's participating for a
Yeah, that depends. Sometimes there's 6, some there's 20. If I'm really lucky, I've had ones for 30 or something, but that's rare, I'd say.
Okay.
It also depends on what day you organize your tournaments. In the weekends, I always had quite a good turnout. That was quite okay. But then I've been doing also Thursday nights, Thursday evenings with the students. They also work the Thursday nights. I tried Sunday evening, that didn't work. Or not that well, actually. No.
Yeah.
So it also, which night or day of the week do you organize these things? Yeah.
Okay. And you often see a lot of the same player also come back for the next.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy with I often see, there's 3 that are almost there every tournament. One of them being the guy that won Refugio 3 times in a row.
I see.
Yeah, so he's,
Have you considered to make it like an international tournament as well?
That, of course, would be great. It's also about selling your games abroad. That's also something I'd like to do, but not myself. I'd probably try to find a partner somewhere else to start up in another country. I'm always open for that. But so far, I've not found the right partner for another country. And it doesn't really make sense yet to organize tournaments if then people have a really hard time finding the game. Of course, they can order it from my website, but then shipping costs would probably be as expensive as the game. I did sell maybe in the last 10 years 30 copies or something to all over the globe, but that was it.
Okay. That hasn't.
And I don't know how people found me, but somehow maybe in a holiday they found me or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. So as well, wrapping up today's interview, and thank you so much for sharing your experience running the tournament and how you created the game. If you had to share just one piece of advice with someone that's getting started within the toys or board game industry, what would that be?
For me, it's having fun first of all, right? Because if it's not fun for you, how can it ever be fun for someone else? I don't know. And the core business, of course, of what I do is trying to make a good game. So what defines a good game, right? But what I started off in the beginning of this, what my ex-girlfriend said, make something simple. Keeping it simple is I think that's very important. Easy to learn, but of course challenging. And challenging for me has to do with giving your players a lot of options. If it's all about rolling a dice and then just finding in the rule book somewhere what happens next, it's not a game for me. But if you just have a few ingredients and you give your players a lot of options what to do with those ingredients, then they will be engaged and there's very little downtime. And it shouldn't take too long, I think. Personally, I like an hour game is fine for me. If, of course, the game can manage to keep the attention span that long. But nowadays, I also, because I deliver my games to 30, 40 stores myself in the Netherlands. So I get a lot of feedback from the store owners as well.
Oh, okay.
They sometimes say, 60 minutes. So they're already afraid for time.
I see.
But if you can make, so I'm very happy with Refugio. It's still 20 minutes for only 2 players. It's really nice, of course. But I think 60 shouldn't be too much of a problem. Maybe not 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing some of the experience.
And sorry, maybe one more last thing. Maybe try and go to a publisher. not doing it all yourself.
No. It's some pros and cons. I think people will go both ways. So But even if you want to go with the publishers, just like your experience you share, not everyone is very open about getting new ideas and getting other board game that doesn't align with their company's agenda. So
for sure,
that's definitely a different type of challenge. But thank you again for sharing your story on our podcast today. And for our listener that want to find more information about you online, where is the best place for people to go?
Yeah, my website, I suppose. So it's NRP. It's my own name, Niels Ramon Pietersen. NRPgames.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
the .com is already so maybe in the horizon we'll go expand. Yeah.
Okay. Make sure we also put that in the show note as well. And for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Toy Business Unbox podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support, and we love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource tips and the latest update in the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unbox. We would love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, and keep bringing joys to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unbox podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.